Hi, this is Ann Holmes with No Sewing Into You Quilted. Today I have some tips for you for our more modern or contemporary quilt that we're working on. This was the drawing of the Native American Museum that I took or it's not a drawing, it's a photograph that I took several years ago in Washington, D.C. and I've always thought it would make an interesting quilt. So this is an experiment. I don't know how it's going to turn out. We're doing this live. All right, so to determine how we're going to build this quilt, I'm going to look at my original photograph. And so the sky would definitely, this piece that we call the sky, would definitely be in the background. But then the structure, the way it's constructed, you know, we're going to build the quilt from this side to this side. Right, when we get to ready to start building, I like to use a small cutting mat as a gluing mat or a gluing board. And so I put a baby wipe in a shot glass and get my glue stick ready, and my sealing iron is heating up. I like to place all the pieces, these are the last few pieces that I cut, on my board. So I place my pieces on my board and I have all my pieces cut out. Now these little small pieces, they kind of disappear in the seam allowances here, so I keep them close to where I'm going to use. I'm going to just move all these over so they're close to where I'm going to use them, but they're not on top. And so when I start to build, I'm going to start with this piece that I call the sky first. All right, so I added a little extra space to this quilt once I squared it up. So I want to position this carefully and then seal it down with my sealing iron. Let the iron do its work and just seal it down. It just feels like you're just slightly tacking it in place. All right, now so I'm going to start on the edge of the building, go down here, and then work my way across the design. Glue stick on the back side of the seam allowance. This is the only one, the only edge that needs to be turned right now is touching right there. So we turned it back and we're matching up our registration marks. I just got to scoot some of this stuff out of the way. So now we have to put glue stick on the back side of that seam allowance. Oh, it goes there. See, we have a little skinny piece peeking in here. We'll do that in a little bit here. We've got this one that goes down here, and now it's going to touch here and here. So we have to turn those two edges. I do one edge at a time and pinch it back. The first gluing just holds it in place. Finger press. And now that's that one, and it's this one that has to be turned. And we're going to be forming a nice little point there, but it's actually going to get cut off because it's extended over the outside edge of the quilt. So these pieces are going to join here, but this is the outside edge of the quilt, so we can just leave that there or trim it off. Glue stick. And that's our first turn of this roof line. All right, so this next skinny little piece, which is a trim piece, it's going to go right here, and I'm only going to turn this one edge. So we're going to turn that edge, and it's all an outside curve, so I don't need to trim anything or clip anything. So I'm going to just start someplace in the middle and pinch it to the edges. Want to match the fabric to the paper. It's a long, skinny little piece, so just be patient and make the fabric match the paper. And then we're going to finger press. So I need a little more glue there if it doesn't all stick down. Just put a little more glue in there, because the first gluing just holds the fabric back. See there, it's not stuck either, so I'm going to just put a little more glue in there. Don't get too big in a hurry. Now it looks nice and smooth. Finger press. And that's going to go right here. And then we'll use the next big pieces to hold that seam allowance in. That way it's all interlocked. This skinny little piece just isn't floating on top. You see that? So let's do that second gluing. There we go. And then I'm going to use the sealing iron and seal that down. So the first side of this quilt is finished, and now we're going to build the second tier. So all we have to turn right here is, you can watch us build several quilts, and it's all the same process, but we're just going to do a few more pieces here, and then we'll skip ahead. Let the iron do the work, so we're sealing it down to the French fuse foundation. And here I have a little piece that's peeking out. I'm going to just cut that off because I don't want any raw edges showing. I can just lift that up, pull that up again, and just cut that off. So this one, the next one, where do we turn it? We only have to turn what is touching. It's going to touch here and right there. And it's all outside curves, so we don't have to clip anything to turn it. Oops, see, there's not enough glue there to hold it back. So just remember to put enough glue on there to turn it back nice and smoothly. Finger press here, And now see, we have a little dog ear formed there, and I'm just going to clip that off too. I'm not trying to fold that back. I don't want any raw edges showing. And then the second gluing. So you just continue around your drawing, matching up the registration marks, clipping off anything that might stick out. We don't want any raw edges showing. When it's an inside curve, to get it to turn back smoothly, we're just going to clip it so that it will have a nice smooth edge to turn just by clipping it. Some of this paper underneath there, so I take my sewer stiletto and sometimes lift this. We can actually get rid of this one piece of fabric because see, it's surrounded here. So we'll just gently pull that off. And you can save your pattern pieces in case you decide you want to change a fabric later on. When I pull these pieces off, I like to support everything with my sealing iron underneath when I'm pulling. See, it looks like it's lifting up. The French fuse underneath is just kind of floating on top of your design, so it does kind of look like it's lifting off of there. But just gently pull it off. And seal it down. So we have a few extra pieces. We can get rid of these on this edge. Slide your sewer stiletto under there. And because quilters like to see their fabric, it's fun to see it growing, your design coming to life here. So there was the paper that got glued under there a little bit. I'm going to just pull that up. You can see I didn't follow my color scheme as in the drawing. I'm creating something new. I'm using that line drawing that we did. But anyway, I hope this will be interesting, that we'll like the final results. So, as I said, I wanted my entryway to be kind of all golden in color. And then we can take that little piece off too. So I'm not going to throw my pattern pieces away yet because I may decide I have to make a change. So I'm going to put my pattern pieces into an empty box or tray and just save them for later. I don't want to remove this because this is holding your place for the next pieces that you're moving. But this could come out right here too. You can learn more about building your quilts if you read my book, Follow the Directions from a Beginning Project to a More Advanced Project, and you'll learn how to solve several problems about building your quilt or constructing your quilt with no sewing until you quilt it.